Welcome back at 7:16, the morning after the worst decline that the stock market has ever seen. The reason, that stunning defeat in the U.S. House of the $700 billion economic rescue plan. Congressman Adam Putnam of Bartow, the third-ranking Republican in the House, voted in favor of it. And he joins us this morning after a late night of being on a plane and getting home and everything. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. The reason you're home is that it's a Jewish holiday and you guys will be going back to work sometime in the next few days.
Probably the end of the week.
Probably the end of the week. Did you all think you had the votes to get this done when you started it yesterday?
You know, it was always an issue that brought forward a sort of a natural gag reflex on both sides of the aisle. I mean, the size of it, the short period of time to consider it. There were, people on the left, people on the right. People had a lot of concerns for very different reasons, and reconciling those differences was difficult. But going to the floor, I did think that the votes would be there. But they just weren't. So now we've got to get back and get something done.
Well, a lot of people are saying that the speech by Nancy Pelosi before the vote, the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, turned some people off and forced them not to vote for it. Do you think that's the case?
It was an unnecessarily shrill speech, considering how delicate the negotiations had been and how fragile the bipartisanship was on that issue. I did have people come up to me on the floor and say, this was hard enough to vote for. We just don't need all this. But that's really less important than what we do going forward. We've got to find a way to stabilize these markets, restore investor confidence, and more importantly, depositor confidence. People need to know, and they should know, that their deposits in their local banks are safe and insured.
You were telling me in the commercial break that a lot is going to depend on what the markets do today. Will the markets stabilize today? If the markets go down again today, that's going to be an indication of how fast you all have to act and do something, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, a lot of this is, the markets sent us a very strong signal yesterday when this vote went down. If they stabilize today and the credit markets stabilize, then I think it's a signal that you have some time to work through these political issues on Capitol Hill. If it continues to fall and if credit markets freeze up and banks stop lending to one another, then you're at a tipping point and things begin to deteriorate very rapidly in the financial system. And so it's not just a matter of getting everybody back in Washington and putting the deal together in a hurry. When it goes, it will go in a hurry. And so it's important for us to show signs of progress and movement towards a bipartisan deal that will get 218 votes.
You're one of the few Republicans in Florida who voted in favor of this. I mean, a lot of your fellow Republicans, Jenny Brown-Waite, Gus Bilirakis, Vern Buchanan, voted against it. Give me a sense, though, of what the phone calls have been like coming into your office the last couple of weeks.
We've had more phone calls on this issue than any other issue since I've been in Congress, more than on the Iraq War, more than on social issues, more than on anything. And they're overwhelmingly negative. Interestingly, they all but ceased when the market began to tank yesterday. And I think that some of it is a legitimate philosophical disagreement with government intervention in the markets. Some of it was a sense that this was only a bailout for Wall Street. And I think that there's now a better understanding that that's just not the case. This is very much a Main Street issue. When money market funds close, it is a Main Street issue. When local franchisees can't get credit, it is a Main Street issue. And that's what we have today here the morning after the largest fall in the Dow.
I should point out also, and I don't think we have time to put it up, so don't worry, but Democrat Kathy Castor voted against it as well. All right, let me ask you this. What is it going to, there's her statement right there. What is it going to take from here on out? Because obviously I think you're still in favor of coming up with something.
Absolutely.
What's it going to take to get it done? Does it have to be changed, or just what happened yesterday, is that enough, or does it have to be tweaked? Or does the Senate vote on it first?
Well, the Senate could vote on it first. They're scheduled to be back in Wednesday night. But I really think to go grow the vote on this, there are going to have to be some additional proposals that were rejected in the first round of negotiations. Some of those things, frankly, I think we ought to do without waiting for the larger agreement. We should immediately, by unanimous consent, pass something to double FDI insurable limits on deposits, to send a message to small businesses and consumers that their money is indeed safe where it is, and don't start a run on the banks. I mean, I think that's important. That's something we could do. We could also push for a temporary suspension of what's called mark-to-market accounting rules, which I think would bring some value back in. The concern is that you're changing the accounting rules, not changing the fundamental structure of the companies, but clearly those accounting rules have artificially deflated these assets, and I think that could provide some short-term relief.
Congressman Adam Putnam, we thank you for being with us. I have a feeling you're not going to be getting much sleep for the next couple of weeks.
Getting used to it. Thank you very much.
We appreciate your time. Take care of yourself. And we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.